Now, leading brewers have run commercials on MTV during time periods when half or more of the audience was below the legal drinking age. Both Budweiser and Miller, along with makers of distilled spirits, sponsor the extreme sports that especially appeal to young people, such as snowboarding, mountain biking, and inline skating, and sell sports paraphernalia with the brand logo through marketing campaigns like Budweiser's Buy the Beer, Get the Gear. She says that in 1998, the Center of Media Education found that 82% of beer websites and 72% of distilled spirit sites use techniques that are particularly attractive to underage audiences, compared with only 10% of wine websites. Well, teenage girls spend $4 billion annually on cosmetics alone. In a society in which one of 2 marriages ends in divorce, we are offered constancy through our products. About 80 million Americans are clinically obese, and nearly 3 out of 4 are overweight. Indeed, in a culture seemingly obsessed with thinness and fitness, Americans are fatter than ever, and fatter than people in most other cultures. 8 million Americans suffer from an eating disorder, and as many as 10% of all college-age women are bulimic. Eating disorders are the 3rd most common chronic illness among females. And then on top of that, you have this fixation on overeating and the shame and the guilt that comes with that and all the other neurosis. And then on the other side, you have this paranoid society that's worried about every single little aspect. Psychologists understand that you can actually make yourself sicker by trying to become well. It's a classic vicious cycle. A recent study found a sharp rise in eating disorders among young women in Fiji soon after the introduction of television to the culture. Before television was available, there was little talk of dieting in Fiji. In 1995, television came to the island, and within 3 years, the number of teenagers at risk of eating disorders more than doubled. 74% of the teens in the study felt that they were too big or too fat, and 62% said that they had dieted in the last month. Well, advertisements like this one from Burger King: stop crying and start eating. A Disney marketing executive said, in boys' advertising, antisocial behavior in pursuit of a product is a good thing. Is it? Another advertising executive is quoted to say that no one's really worrying about what it's doing. That's what advertising is doing to children, or what it's teaching impressionable youth. Hey, I'm in the business of convincing people to buy things they don't need. The Center for Media and Public Affairs. On average, studies show that profane language is used once every 6 minutes on network television shows, every 2 minutes on premium cable, and every 3 minutes in major motion pictures. In J.A.C. Brown, in his book Techniques of Persuasion, says that during 1 week in 1954 in New York television, someone was injured or threatened with violence once in every 6 minutes of program time. In his excellent book, Emotional Intelligence, author and psychologist Daniel Goleman says that in 1990, compared to the previous 2 decades, the United States saw the highest juvenile arrest rate for violent crimes ever. Teen arrests for forcible rape had doubled, teen murder rates quadrupled, mostly due to an increase in shootings. And during those same 2 decades, the suicide rate for teenagers tripled, as did the number of children under 14 who are murder victims. Joel Pecan says, children as tomorrow's consumers represent a huge market today, and therefore are fair game for corporations, says Lucy Hughes. Or as another advertising executive puts it, they aren't children so much as what we like to call evolving consumers. And then we only have to examine the ad copy itself to see how the child is even portrayed visually, even when there isn't any particular words or terms, just the portrayal in advertising of children. And this goes for the glossiest upscale magazines and programs. It's very important to observe how individuals like the father or like the grandparent or the child or the animal is actually portrayed. We went into this last time. And we also have to understand who's encouraging all of this. As we saw earlier, if the parents aren't going to create good models, and if in fact if they go out of their way to encourage their own children to buy into all of this nonsense, then of course the child is the future parent. And so the cycle continues. For instance, here's pictures of Tom Cruise's daughter. We have this sexualization of the children. And of course, we have something even more sinister than that. The point that I like to make is that this isn't just about people trying to make money. It may be about power. It's not altogether about wealth. John Kricfalusi, for instance, has said this. He says, "I think we're destroying the minds of Americans." And that has always been one of my lifelong ambitions. Here's a pork advertisement. "We lead you into temptation, but deliver you from evil." And these, of course, are playing on the regressive aspects of the mind, the limbic realm, the more pre-rational levels of the mind, and also the personality, to keep people in a regressed and infantile state. And as I said, the overt sexualization of children. An advertisement for 17 magazine is this: "Innocence is sexier than you think." Sugar and spice and everything nice. Get real. Get real. So in the mind of these advertisers, that is what is real. They're going to tell you what is reality, and it's the opposite of what is morality and innocence.